that there's a refusal on both the Democratic and the Republican side of the aisle to acknowledge the mathematical problem, which is that the United States of America is being extracted. It's being extracted through banking, it's being extracted through trade, and it's being extracted through taxation. And there's not a single politician that has stepped forward, Susan, to deal with this.
But there's only one right now. The leader of the free world, whether you like it or not, the President of the United States is arguably one of the most powerful individuals we have out there.
But Susan, what you're saying is exactly the point that Dylan is making. It's not about one guy. It's about all of them.
No, I actually disagree. I think Dylan's saying it isn't about one guy.
It is about one guy.
What would you like him to do?
I would like him to go to the people of the United States of America and say, people of the United States of America, your Congress is bought. Your Congress is incapable of making legislation on health care, banking, trade, or taxes, because if they do it, they will lose their political funding and they won't do it. But I'm the President of the United States, and I would have a country that is run by a bought Congress. So I'm not going to work with the bought Congress and try to be Mr. Big Guy. I'm working with the bought Congress. I'm going to abandon the bought Congress like Teddy Roosevelt did, and I'm going to go to the people of the United States and I'm going to say, you've got a bought Congress. And until we get rid of the bought Congress, which is Jimmy Williams' constant point, which is get the money out of politics, and until a president says that's the problem and says he's going to fix it, there is no policy that I can possibly see, no matter how brilliant your idea may be, or your idea, or my idea, or her idea, or your idea at home, is that idea will not happen as long as there is the capacity to basically fire a politician who disagrees with me by taking funding away from him. Is that a fair assessment?
Money in politics is the root of all political evil. It is corruption at its worst. And until we step up and kick that out of the park, it's going to be the same system all
and only the president could do that. We're going to
Congress has to do it too. Congress has to do it too.
But I'll tell you what, how bad does it have to get? How much money has to be extracted? How many things have to be heard?
The brass tacks. Okay, physically, what do you do?
You go and give a speech
right now.
Right now. You say
and then what happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow what happens is you begin the process of actually investing in solving the problem. So I come out and I say, how? I create an infrastructure bank with 2% blending immediately. There's that. Once I explain to people the problem, once I explain to you have cancer, once you understand how screwed up your trade, tax, and banking policies are, believe me, you will have no issue when I incorporate an infrastructure bank that I fund with repatriated offshore money that I bring in and then use to create 2% direct lending to every business in America, because when you realize that the banking system is fully corrupt and defrauding us, and I come out and say that, which is what I want my president to do, that at that exact moment I say, you know what, we got a screwed up situation here, people. You all know it, and now what? I'm going to admit it. And as a result, not only have I admitted it, but we're going to begin the process of solving it like grown-ups. They did it in World War II. They did it after the Civil War. They did it in Latin America with the Brady Bonds. We are not seeing it happen now. The panel stays a little more emotional than I anticipated getting at work this afternoon, but what am I going to do?
Okay. So that's pretty interesting, huh?
I would have to say that, just to let the viewers, the listeners know, that was on an MSNBC show, and the host was doing that.
Right. It's pretty surprising. I had no idea it was those. I've seen that video a couple times, and it never occurred to me that was actually the host, because you'd imagine that, I mean, there wouldn't be hosts like that saying those things like that on MSNBC of all.
Right, and it's really recent, so I mean, it would. I think MSNBC. I think his time. I think if I was to make a prediction based on what I know about
his days are numbered.
Yeah, his days with that network are numbered.
Yeah.
That particular host name is Dylan Ratigan. So pay attention to what happens with Dylan Ratigan.
Yeah, it'll either be canned or 2 bullets to the back of the head. Who knows?
It sucks when you wake up and you start to see things as they are, because if you start to believe the truth, it burns in you like a fire. And you can't keep your tongue. You can't keep your mouth shut.
No, it's being passionate. You know, it's like, and I think I've talked to you about this before, and I don't know if I might have mentioned it on air before a few times, but when it comes to a show like InfoWars with Alex Jones and so on, the guy gets a little riled up, and he gets very riled up,
spastic.
Yeah, and kind of loses his mind a little bit, but and like I've said before, that's always kind of turned my wife off to Alex Jones and kept her from listening to what he's got to say. Not that I agree with everything that he says, but a lot of what he says makes sense, and a lot of what he says he can back up with documentation. So it's like hard to argue with a lot of what the guy's got to say. But a lot of women, especially, I've noticed, have a hard time listening and paying attention to him or tolerating anything he's got to say because he does get so fired up. And I'm like, that's passion.
He gets overzealous.
Right.
And
well,
that is a turnoff.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. Is that he's probably, if we were to take a sample of his blood and test it for testosterone, he would probably be through the roof.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's like a hormonal thing there that doesn't mesh well with.
Well, and it's funny you mention that because he does kind of allude to that a little bit when he does go off about how that's how men are supposed to be. We're supposed to be aggressive. We're supposed to when we see injustices, we're supposed to be in your face. That's what we're built for as men, and that. Through over time through chemicals that have been inserted into our food and our water and so on, and indoctrination through programming and television and things like that we've kind of there's been a shift in what men are supposed to be, and that we become docile and servile, and the roles in the household have changed, where the women are the men and the men are the women.
Look,
basically.
I didn't see that on TV, so I can't agree with either of you.
I know, right? that programming, but it's an interesting point that he makes, and like I said, it's that's passion. She comes from a Christian background, a very devout Christian background, and that was a point that I made to her in that regard. Is that look, you should recognize that for what it is. It's passion, just like when you go to church and you see your pastor and he's on fire and he's riled up with that passion for Jesus and what he's got to say. It's the same thing. It just happens to be politically driven, anti-establishment driven. You can't hate on the guy for the way he's delivering the message, especially if the message can be backed up. Especially if he can back up if the guy can back up what he's saying for the most part. For the most part,
you know what? You're right. He believes in what he's saying. Mm-hmm. And when I'm not into the whole like spastic thing,
right?
But also, I tend to represent things that I believe in kind of cold and calculated, and other people represent it with passion. Different. Exactly. So I do enjoy listening to him, and you make a valid point. There is no cookie cutter for truth.
Right.
Just the information and the documentation, it has to be founded. And so, yeah, you're right.
As far as the video that we just saw, I agree with everything the guy said. What did you say his name was again? Do you remember?
Yeah, Dylan Ratigan.
The only thing that I didn't that I noticed that Dylan Ratigan didn't say that he didn't touch on was he was pointing out that the president should say that the Congress and so on, the Congress is bought and so on. But what he failed to mention is that so is the president. So that would never happen. The president's not going to come out and say, American people, your Congress is bought, because he's bought too. Well, obviously.
He made the mistake of giving the president the benefit of the doubt. Because this was the president that was going to pull us out of all wars, was going to bail out the people, who his first act was to actually bail out the banks instead, because the banks don't have any money, but the people do. All right, I'll stop right there.
Which actually goes to what you were saying, Rich, in regards to whether or not when we were listening, that in regards to whether or not he's going to be losing his job, due to that little segment and that little tirade that he did. That could probably be his one saving grace, is that he didn't say the one glaring truth that overarches everything else that he had to say, was that the president is bought too. He kind of pointed it all.
That's a good point.
Blamed it all on Congress, which is exactly what the president does. So even though what he was saying we all can agree with in this room, the one thing that he didn't touch on that we all can also agree with in this room is that yes, Congress bad, but also president bad. It's the one important point that he failed to mention.
Yeah, he did mention something though. He gave the president a lot of ability to make the change. He said that the president should do what the president should do is tell the people that your Congress is bought. Don't tiptoe around it.
Right.
Don't just blame the Republicans.
Right.
Blame both parties.
Right.
But you're right. He did not say
the one line he didn't cross.
Right. He did not cross.
Which
that.
is the only thing that I believe would be his saving grace.
Well, maybe
in order to not lose his job.
Maybe in his mind, he actually, because it is, what was it, MSNBC?
MSNBC, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, because he is probably a left-wing or Democrat, maybe he still believes in the president and is still hoping for those promises.
Well, he's clearly not left-wing. He's
not far left, but maybe he believes still. Maybe
that's a good point.
Maybe he's giving him the benefit of the doubt. Listen, I told you, I'm libertarian by definition, but when it comes to business workings, I'm Republican, and when it comes to philosophy, I'm liberal. Mm-hmm. So I'm all these things combined. Maybe he's just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because he still believes in him.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I mean, but really, the guy strikes me as a pretty smart guy, and at the end of the day, if you step back and look at everything that's transpired over the last 8 years, I don't see how a rational, clearly intelligent person can come to the conclusion that there's a reason to have any hope in anything that our current president...
But we can't assume that he knows everything that we know. Even though he seems to know a lot, he may not know about
that's what I'm saying.
The unconstitutional laws that were passed.
Right.
Give up.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, he may not know about about that the Fifth Amendment has been torn to shreds.
And then the views on those amendments are also subject to opinions. Like, Second Amendment, people that don't believe you should own a firearm. There are people that believe you should have zero way to defend yourself.
Right.
They truly believe that. No joke.
Sure.
And they would rather watch their wife raped, their children murdered in front of them, than to pull the trigger on somebody. And that is some people's thought process, and you can't deny that. That is just the way they think. And other people, their thought process, they understand what the Second Amendment was about. And they also understand that if government became too big, that is why they made the allowance for the Second Amendment. Right. So there's different thought processes. Some people are just pacifists by nature.
Right.
They never want to harm a soul.
That's true. That's an excellent point, because not a lot of people are aware on that subject line that the reason why we have the Second Amendment in the first place. Some people actually are uneducated in that regard to honestly believe that we have the Second Amendment to allow us to be able to hunt turkeys in the woods.
Single shot.
Right.
I believe personally that the Second Amendment has allowed us to be the free citizens that
absolutely.
we are.
It's the only reason why we're the freest society in the world right now. The most free, with all of its faults and all the things that are being torn down around us. It does allow us to be still so far maintain more freedom in this world than
I believe that's a very important.
And me as the devil's advocate, why would you guys want to ever have the upper hand on anything? Why not just make yourself victims? I'm so confused. Make yourself a victim. Please be a victim.
So I can complain more about things if I'm a victim. You're right.
No,
I can't complain.
Everybody should just die and not ever be able to protect themselves.
Okay, yeah. Joe, here's the only problem with the devil's advocate thing. It's one thing to be a devil's advocate, but it's hard to take you serious as a devil's advocate when it's coming across as sarcasm.
Shut up.
You have to find some kind of middle ground there.
Look, man, I ate a lot of toothpaste this morning to come to this level. Fluoride has done me right, all right?
My son actually grabbed the toothpaste the other day. I think it was 2-3 days ago when I was brushing my teeth. He likes to be in the bathroom when I'm brushing my teeth, and he says, "My turn."
You brush your teeth?
All right, it's unconstitutional. But yeah, so he grabbed the tube while I was brushing my teeth, and he squeezed it into his mouth. About had a heart attack. I mean, because all I'm thinking is fluoride poison. Grabbed him. I leaned him over the sink, spit, and he spit right away. So that was good. But I mean, that was traumatic, and I don't know why I went down that line, but it's what it is. Because somebody decided to bring moonshine.
I'm sorry to laugh, but we've all been there. I ate so much toothpaste that maybe fluoride is a very bad thing and could be contributed to libertarian thought process. I don't know.
That's an excellent point. I remember when we used to be in elementary school. I'm sure you guys probably remember, and they used to give it the mouthwash.
Drink.
Yes. And I love the way it tastes, and I always swallowed at least half of it on purpose because it tasted so good.
It did.
So maybe that's why I'm a libertarian. It all makes sense.
No, libertarian. Okay, I'm leading us off straight, and that's why I am called the devil's advocate, because I enjoy doing that. But no, you need to take fluoride out of everything. It doesn't even make sense. If we were a separate entity pushing fluoride into products, we probably would be sued beyond recognition, and never exist again in this world as a corporation.
Let me ask you a question as a medical practitioner, Rich.
Yeah.
What do you think about the concept in regards to fluoride? That you can't